College basketball today on SportsGrid with you on a Valentine's Day. Saturday, Kevin Walsh, Coach James Young. We've got an hour until a lot of these games tip off. We'll see some of the top teams in action. But JY, I want to begin with what I think would maybe be your fifth biggest game on this slate. If we were trying to order these games, 1 through 5, I think we did a nice job going through Florida, Kentucky, Duke, Clemson, those big matchups in the Big 12 with Iowa State, Kansas, and Texas Tech, Arizona. But I feel like Iowa at versus Purdue is one to keep our eyes on here. We talk about look-ahead spots, and the Hawkeyes got caught. The Terps on the road, you could play that team on Mars. You are supposed to beat Maryland this year in the Big Ten. But as a 10.5-point favorite, they went down. They hardly led in that basketball game. They trailed almost the whole way. Now they try and take out a Purdue team, Coach, who is off of one of their most important results of the season. A collapse led them into overtime against Nebraska, where they then needed to complete a comeback. They led by as many as 22 in that basketball game and somehow ended up playing overtime hoop. How do you feel about Iowa against Purdue today?
Purdue is such an intriguing team, Kevin, because going into the season, we looked at the Purdue Boilermakers and saying this could be the team, right? You figure you got your backcourt coming back with Fletcher Lawyer and obviously Braden Smith, a couple to transfer, and then you obviously Daniel Jacobson, Kaufman Wren. You look at the team saying, oh, this is the team. And they haven't played as such. And the reason why I sometimes get nervous about Purdue is I don't know if they know how to grind games out, right? They're very slow in offensive pace, so if they don't beat you in the half court and you're not knock down shots, they can't beat you any other way. And then they blew the lead to Nebraska and they found their way to win. Mm-hmm. And then I'm saying, is that the game those kids needed to know that in a tight spot, in a tight game, they could get a win on the road? They have the offensive efficiency advantage versus Iowa. They have the defensive efficiency versus Iowa's offense is kind of neutral. But the thing that's kind of interesting about Purdue is their half-court game, if they could just play the right way, they're going to be able to be successful. And Iowa doesn't rebound the ball. So this actually, to me, may be a pretty good matchup. Right now, I'm leaning, and I haven't bet it yet. I'm looking at Purdue at a money line, maybe stealing another big road win.
So I'm on the other side, Coach. I bet Iowa on the money line here. I believe plus 128 or so. These numbers are, of course, on the move a little bit this morning. I kind of had this one circled up a little bit here. As someone who bet Purdue against Nebraska, one of the reasons I felt Purdue needed to get that game is what awaited them. I thought the trip to Iowa was going to be difficult, and they then will be hosting Michigan, which could be it's definitely another really, really tough task. This is a Hawkeyes team who has not been able to grab one of these marquee wins yet, right, Coach? But most of them have been road games, right? At Michigan State, at Iowa State, at Purdue. The one home game against Illinois, they were certainly in the mix. They weren't able to close the door. I think we've learned this Purdue team is not as good as Illinois. And there's just a lot of evidence that this Purdue team is not like an elite top 1% team. They're very, very good offensively, but they're not the best team in the Big Ten. That's the Michigan Wolverines. I don't want to dismiss Illinois. I'm not trying to. It's just this Michigan team, especially when they're hot, it's machine-like. They look to be on real upset alert against Northwestern. They trailed by 16, and they nearly covered a 15.5-point spread, winning that game by 12, winning the second half 52-31. They are playing, though, in what looks to me, JY, like the meanest schedule spot of the season. Not for Michigan. Why is UCLA playing a game at 12:45 in the morning? I mean, not in the morning, in noon. Like, when did Mick Cronin and the boys get here? I know they haven't played since last Saturday, but like, What'd you take, a 4-day trip to Ann Arbor to get acclimated to the body clock? It's a little wild to me.
Yeah, and that's a good point. My whole thing with watching UCLA and USC when they travel east is that first game is rough. Because listen, I remember going out west when I was at Monmouth. Kev, it takes you what, 2 days at least to get acclimated? So they're playing a game at 9:45 in the morning. Well, let's be honest. They're playing at 9:45, whatever in the morning. So for them, I don't think people understand. If they play today, that means maybe Thursday they practiced in the morning, flew out, got out to Ann Arbor Thursday night. So that's only one day. Your body can't acclimate themselves that quickly. And then you got to go against a team that literally in Michigan, who was asleep at the wheel and then woke up and just flipped the game by like 30 points in about 30 seconds. So Dusty May is going to have his kids' attention. So to me, Kevin, this is an impossible spot for UCLA. I know the number is big. Maybe the way to play is Michigan team total over because they just don't play around. Or if you don't want to touch the whole game, you catch a team coming West Coast to East Coast, play them in the first half. They're not going to come out flat like Northwestern. Play them in the first half. Let them get the big lead. Go from there.
It's such a tough spot. It really is, because there's also a world where, again, like, has UCLA put so much time and effort into making sure that they show up for this game where they could maybe, drag Michigan down a little bit. We know UCLA prefers to play at that slower pace. I would lean under, but I'm not rushing to bet this game. Coach, let me ask you about another one of the top teams in the country, a team that I know you have a good handle on. You follow the Big East very closely. UConn at home today against Georgetown, 16.5-point favorite. You already mentioned the Tarris Reed play that you like. Can you give me an idea of how you feel this UConn team really stacks up against the rest of this country, maybe how they compare to their recent championship teams?
Well, to me, they've had, Brady Mullis has missed some time and he's came back. And obviously, as their sniper, as they're almost their Liam McNeely, right, of this year's team, he gives an added dimension with Reed, with DeMary, with Ball, with Caravan. They are the class of the Big East. That St. John's rematch with them is going to be really, really good. But you got to remember, they did not cover the spread the last 2 games. But before that, what they did after the Providence, which is a weird matchup for them, beating Creighton by 30, same thing with Xavier. Georgetown, I think it's a spot where they should cover the spread here. Ed Cooley's done a better job, but to me, this is when you get to the middle of February, this is where like Dan Hurley almost takes it up another notch, right? Because he's a guy that, when they don't play well, he's really angry. And he's ornery in practice. And he's ornery in shoot around. And he's like that pregame. I know this family. And the refs hear it. And the fans hear it. Everybody hears it. The best way for his players to get Dan Hurley to calm down is to kick someone's tail. Unfortunately, that happens to be Georgetown today. I know it's a lot of points, but I'm laying it today with the UConn Huskies.
UConn is the perfect example of why some people like to wait to bet national championship futures, because you all of a sudden think you have a good ticket and then you're in the UConn bracket and you go, oh, great, Hurley. Let's not forget last year, the team that won the national championship in a down year. Dan was very, very close to having his guys knock off the number 1 seed in that region in Florida. UConn is a team that when the bracket is set, I will take a look at. I will be, again, I don't know how much more room I have to add futures, maybe room for one more. We'll see again how these brackets fall, but it's a deep, balanced team with still the scariest tournament coach in the country. We'll be right back for college basketball today.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I don't think he was trying to take a shot at the team at all. It was just a plain and simple and obvious fact.
I think what's difficult, though, is, and I agree with you, right? I guess I agree with LeBron. The assessment of it all, it's why the Lakers organization seems to be comfortable with that truth, unless they disagree. But again, I don't really know how you disagree.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike McDonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It looked like a clump of grass. It didn't look like an eagle. That's the one, by the way, that USA Today claimed was the best ad. They thought the Lay's ad was number 2. The worst ad was any ad that had AI in it or had an AI company behind it. It wasn't because of the AI. It was because they were the most nonsensical ads you've ever seen. Does anybody look at these ads and understand if they are actually trying to do what they're trying to do, which is to showcase the product as opposed to being great with AI? Very embarrassing.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
College basketball today with a look at, we're kind of into the real JY sweet spot of our show here today, as we will talk a little bit about the women's game next here on College Basketball Today. And when we do pro basketball today, we will always keep our eye on the women's games. Before we get to that, though, Houston and Kansas State. And typically, you might think, oh, we always know coach who keeps an eye on Houston, Kelvin Sampson, just the way that team is trending. Not about them. It's about Kansas State. And it's about Jerome Tang, who was, I feel, as angry as you will see a coach following a loss that wasn't about, refs or anything like that. Just furious at his team, who lost by 29 points at home against Cincinnati. He said that a lot of these kids do not deserve to wear the Kansas State uniform and that very few of them next year will actually be wearing it. JY, what did you make of Jerome Tang so publicly calling out his basketball team?
You know, the last time I really got into this was a couple of years ago. I remember when Rick Pitino and St. John's lost at the UBS Arena to Seton Hall, and he kind of went after his team. And then I kind of went after Rick because in this day and age, you kind of pick your players. So when you're a coach, you could do everything you want in the practice, in the locker room. When you take your frustration with your team and you spill it out into the media in this day and age, do you know how many kids are probably already in the transfer portal at the end of the year? Do you know how many kids can't wait to get away from your program because you threw them under the bus? And then there's this. Then you're like, coach, trying to motivate these guys. No. This isn't Houston A&T. This isn't Houston Baptist. This isn't Houston Bible College. This is the University of Houston you're doing this against. And you want to question a team that you're going against that's number 2 in the league in defensive efficiency and is playing better? You want to go against a team that in conference play, ready for this, folks, for Houston, has the best offensive efficiency in the Big 12, or a team that turns you over like no one's business, but then Houston doesn't turn you over, and you want to question your guys. Coach, I am all for you questioning your players in practice and in the locker room. Once you put the problems on the street, you should have been looking in the mirror and saying, what? You should have said this. I have not done a great job in getting my players to play the way that I want to. But you know what? I got 3 days to prepare for a tough University of Houston team. We're going to get back to practice. We'll get back to work, and we'll give it our best shot. And the players are going to say, oh, man, our coach took care of us. Our coach looked out for us. Our coach has our back. Mm-hmm. As soon as those clips went viral, every last kid in there, forget them kids not coming back. Them players after this, they don't want to come back. They're gone. And you're going to go to Houston today and play tangy fresh. Good luck, because it ain't going to be pretty today.
You'd be crazy to have bets on K-State today. Wouldn't? Listen, folks, I don't know what you want me to tell you, but I can't help myself here. Coach is probably right. I'd like to think that maybe one or two of these guys, have some pride. Ultimately, and again, I will let Coach handle the conversation on how he handled it, right? What I think we could all agree on is Kansas State has been embarrassing this year. And the get your lick back spot is not at Houston, certainly. But when I look at Kansas State and their makeup, they can't guard. They can kind of score it. They love to push pace. Houston is going to have a field day with this defense, probably. And I think play a little bit quicker than usual. So, because of the spot, listen, Houston will probably score 100, and I'll regret this, and that's okay. I am playing the Kansas State team total. This sounds dumb as I'm saying it. This is the second thing today that I am regretting as I'm saying it. I am playing the Kansas State team total over 61.5. It is JY, root me in, right, brother. Okay. That is your hey now.
You're my partner.
The number is so big. The number is so big. I really think that offensively, look, I don't think these guys are going to step in, right, slap the floor and play a good game of defense for 40 minutes. I think offensively, though, these guys play with pace and energy and give themselves a chance to get over a low number.
I'll say it to you like this. And I'm going to save it for the end of the show because my best bet is coming from this game. But I will say this. I think there's a way that Kevin and I can be right because I'm on the other side. And I'll wait till the end of the show to get my best bets because I'm making you folks, I'm making you stay with us for 40 more. You don't need to go anywhere else. So you might as well just hang out with us and wait for our best bets at the end of the show. But that being said, I love my man. This is my guy. I mean, look at him. He's dressed sharp. I mean, he's got the Valentine's Day delight. He's got a brunch date at 12:01. Look at him. Look at how handsome my man look. Wait, I mean, he make me want to bring back the mock turtleneck. Making me look like John Shaft if I put on that mock turtleneck, look like Samuel L. Jackson or Richard Roundtree. But that being said, there's a way that you can win both of those. But I still maintain this. At least for the first half, me don't think that the Kansas State guys are going to like their coach too much, and it may be reflective in their score. There's your hint for later.
Now, you might think that Houston, Kansas State could be ugly. Probably not as ugly as any UConn's women's game because, and I'm aware of what I'm about to say, Coach can tell me how crazy it is. Gino might have his most dominant team ever. So let that sink in during the commercial break as we're right back on college basketball.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I don't think he was trying to take a shot at the team at all. It was just a plain and simple and obvious fact.
I think what's difficult, though, is, and I agree with you, right? I guess I agree with LeBron. The assessment of it all, it's why the Lakers organization seems to be comfortable with that truth, unless they disagree. But again, I don't really know how you disagree.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike McDonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It looked like a clump of grass. It didn't look like an eagle. That's the one, by the way, that USA Today claimed was the best ad. They thought the Lay's ad was number 2. The worst ad was any ad that had AI in it or had an AI company behind it. It wasn't because of the AI. It was because they were the most nonsensical ads you've ever seen. Does anybody look at these ads and understand if they are actually trying to do what they're trying to do, which is to showcase the product as opposed to being great with AI? Very embarrassing.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
College basketball today. Now, we're going to talk some women's college, okay? We're going to get into some of the bigger games. We still got to talk some upset alert, St. John's, Arkansas, Gonzaga. We're going to get there. But I saw something yesterday that I just thought couldn't be real. The UConn women's basketball team has won 21 straight games by 25 or more points. It is, of course, the longest streak this century, because what the heck else would it be? You have to be kidding me. They haven't played South Carolina this year. They have not played UCLA. They have not played LSU. They are also minus 300 to win the championship already. The team that last year won the championship in pretty dominant fashion. Is this UConn team, coach, as good as all of the numbers suggest?
I don't think they're as good as the numbers suggest, because I just think Paige Beckers is an all-time player. And also, their schedule is not as loaded as if people remember. Remember, they had a 72-69 game versus Michigan, and if Michigan had any play inside, they win big. You want to go look at their game they won against Iowa. Iowa's not a top 10 team. You want to go against UCLA, no Juju Watkins. You want to talk about Tennessee. Tennessee may be the 5th best team in the SEC. Now, that being said, are they the best team in college women's basketball by 15 plus points? Yes. I'm not going to bet it. It's not worth my money. I'd rather put it somewhere else. But when you go and look at it, folks, you could ask 5 different people who the second best team in the country is. You're going to get 5 different answers. Some's going to say UCLA, but then they're going to say UCLA, who have they played? Their league isn't as good in the Big Ten. Some are going to say it's South Carolina, who's got a big game coming up. Some are going to say LSU, who they're playing each other. Some are going to say Texas. Well, Texas just got beat by Vanderbilt, right? Some are going to say Michigan. I saw Vanderbilt beat Michigan a couple of weeks ago. So to me, it's going to be one of those things where it's UConn and everywhere else, and all you're hoping for as a team is you want to be, ready for this, as far on the other side of the bracket as UConn is. That's your best bet betting women's college basketball this year.
Can I ask you specifically about Sarah Strong? Again, JY, just tell me if I'm being ridiculous. I know that she's the best player, it feels like, in college basketball by a country mile as a sophomore. Like this feels of all. I'm not trying to say that she's. I know Maya Moore went 4 for 4 on national, but like again, like UConn, she might go 4 for 4. I don't understand. JY, like, how good is Sarah Strong? Is I guess the simple question.
She will go down as one of the 10 best players in history of the program. And this is a program that's had, Paige Beckers, Rebecca Lobo, Jen Rosati, Shay Rell, Maya Moore, Brianna Stewart. You want me to keep going? I can keep going, but we don't have enough time. Tina Charles, I can keep going for the next 30 minutes talking about how great these players are. But here is the crazy thing about Sarah Strong and having last year. The second best player is AZ Fudd. AZ Fudd, who wasn't even a first-team All-American by the AP preseason, that was when she got back from her knee injury, she put that team to another stratosphere. So when you got a Batman and Robin of Sarah Strong and AZ Fudd, or a Paige Beckers with a Sarah Strong and an AZ Fudd, I mean, you can tell right then and there that they're the best team. And the fact that Sarah Strong is a sophomore and we got to deal with this mess for another couple of years, good luck. And don't even get me started with Big O from over there in Middle Village, New York, from Christ the King High School, heading over to UConn next year. Don't tell me about Big O that plays for my buddy Kevin Lynch over in the Philadelphia Rise. Wait till she gets there next year. The train keeps going with Gino, and they just keep on winning.
Joe, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but these numbers literally just dropped during this segment. Number 6 versus number 3, LSU tonight against South Carolina. They have South Carolina on the road as a 1.5-point favorite. Total 156.5. Anything stand out when you hear that?
156.5 is a lot of points. Kim Mulkey and obviously Dawn Staley look for that game to go under. Look for South Carolina to find a way to steal it at home.
All right. I would also just let people know that UConn today is a 34.5-point favorite, and that number has been bet up. It was 32.5. People are laying the 32.5.
Take it.
My goodness. We'll be right back. College basketball play.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I don't think he was trying to take a shot at the team at all. It was just a plain and simple and obvious fact.
I think what's difficult, though, is, and I agree with you, right? I guess I agree with LeBron. The assessment of it all, it's why the Lakers organization seems to be comfortable with that truth, unless they disagree. But again, I don't really know how you disagree.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike McDonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It looked like a clump of grass. It didn't look like an eagle. That's the one, by the way, USA Today claimed was the best ad. They thought the Lay's ad was number 2. The worst ad was any ad that had AI in it or had an AI company behind it. It wasn't because of the AI. It was because they were the most nonsensical ads you've ever seen. Does anybody look at these ads and understand if they are actually trying to do what they're trying to do, which is to showcase the product as opposed to being great with AI? Very embarrassing.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Marquette plus 35 and a half. Add it to my card. Add it to my card. We got the rest of the number here. Add Marquette to my card. All right, JY, what are you going to do? Listen, I'm going to spend the whole day trying to give JY a list of picks. He hates all of them, all right? I don't know. If I make it between Marquette and the Kansas State pick, JY is going to be like, I need someone else to work this show next week, man. This guy's lost his mind.
Listen, I've come back. I think there's a chance that Kevin and I can both hit the Houston bet. Marquette, not so much.
Okay. All right.
Not doing it.
All right. Fair enough. Marquette, add it to my card again. We'll play it twice. Look, JY, there's a couple different things I want to get into. I want to just start with this, okay? We'll go through these quickly because it's a rare thing that we see, but it's a little more common. It feels like over the last couple of years, and I'm pretty sure a week from today, we get Duke versus Michigan, which, oh my goodness. Books are so excited, by the way.
Yeah,
crazy.
The lights are already out. Unbelievable.
Michigan looks light. Just saying. So, JY, like we have Louisville, Baylor. We have Ohio State, Virginia. How jarring, if at all, is it to all of a sudden be playing a non-conference game in February?
It is so, honestly, Kevin, it's so weird on the men's side. This is something that the women do a lot more, particularly Gino. Gino just played Tennessee, and he always used to play Pat Summitt in the month in February. And I think part of the reason why Gino does it is because he doesn't get the competition that he needs in the Big East. So you get a big non-conference game to kind of get you as a litmus test. That Duke-Michigan game, folks, well, ready for this? Move markets. If either team wins decisively, I'm going to say something crazy, especially what happens with Arizona in the next couple of games with their stretch where they have to play, obviously Texas Tech. I think they have to go to Houston next week. By the time this game is played, one of those two teams, if they play well and beat the other team up, Kev, could be the favorite to win the national championship if Arizona slips up over the next week, which is a very real possibility.
I believe, just to give people an idea of how good next Saturday is going to be, you're also getting Houston, Arizona on that Saturday. So quite the day for us here. The college basketball game.
And we're going to be back on air. So, I mean, what else are you going to do at 10 o'clock in the morning? Go to the gym at 9 o'clock. Go to the gym at 8 o'clock. Just make sure you're at 10. We're taking attendance. Just saying.
It's the nicest. You assuming the people are going to the gym. I mean, like,
I go 7:30 in the morning. What are you talking about? I go work out 7:30 in the morning. Only on Lift Grid.
Are you bigger than producer Chris?
Well, listen, that's Popeye the Sailor Man. That's Popeye the Sailor Man. Have you ever seen Chris Kofsky? Chris Kofsky's, I'm going to say 5'8" on a good day. But,
wow.
That's muscles marinara right there, Chris Kofsky. So
if Coach's mic cuts off, it's nothing happened. It's just some producing. JY, let's look at some upset alert spots here, okay? Where we've got some teams, especially on the road, laying single digits. How do you feel about St. John's today, making the trip to Providence? This Providence team is fascinating. It does not matter who they play. Seton Hall, UConn, Villanova, these slow teams, they see Providence, they go, oh, sick. All right, let's run. That's fun. And they lose. Providence loses. But they'll cover some of these numbers. Johnny's will run with them, though. What do you think here about this matchup?
We may call this a Providence 500 because this game's going to get up and down. I think, but the reason why I like St. John's in this spot is twofold. Number one, Rick Pitino is starting to go to his bench and starting to crank up the pressure with his pressure defense. I'll give you three. Two, they need a good spot on the road. We saw this against, I think it was Creighton, where they just came out at halftime and just exploded in the second half. And then there's three. Providence beat St. John's last game. in the last game that I looked at, St. John's did not look right. Rick Pitino knows going to the dunk is dangerous. They're going to lean on their press. It's going to be extremely high scoring. And about at the 13-minute mark of the second half, right before the under 12 timeout, I think the bottom drops out of Providence. St. John's makes a run. Give me St. John's minus the points.
I lean St. John's as well, but Providence has been very good at home this year, keeping games close, pulling off, outright victories. I'm going to respect that, plus the fact that every time I bet a team to win the championship, they lose the next game. So I backed off that number. Coach, let me get to the back end of this slate here. Gonzaga, Santa Clara. The Zags got into one of these spots where it's like, wow, they're really going to only lose once, but it's going to be by 40 to Michigan. And then the stunner at Portland, the game after they avoided a St. Mary's upset. But they have a no-joke opponent here in Santa Clara. This is a, top 40 or so team in college basketball, can really score it. Anything jump out to you when you line these two teams up?
Yeah, it does. Really quick before I get to that, because I should have mentioned it, is Zuby. Zuby after 4 over his points prop today. This guy has been an absolute monster, the most consistent player for St. John's. Look for him to go off in this matchup. Now, when you look at Santa Clara Gonzaga, you're looking at two teams that are really good in regards to how they play. Santa Clara, ready, folks? Whatever I told you that Santa Clara had the best offense in league. They do. Versus the number 1 defense in league. Santa Clara, the number 1 defense in league versus the number 3 offense in league. So to me, this game screams under. This game screams under. It's at Santa Clara, in which they will try and grind this game down. I look for this game to be under and be a really, really good game. Probably one of the best, I would say, mid-major conference games that you will see all season happening late night tonight, 10:30.
All right, one that kind of blends the starting point of this, segment here with the out-of-conference matchups, Baylor-Louisville. I believe Louisville is on a full upset alert. This game's in Texas, close enough to home court advantage then, in my opinion, for Baylor. This is 3 points more than BYU laid. This Baylor team is getting better. They only lost by 5 to BYU, by 3 at Iowa State. Drew is a really good head coach. I know it's not been his year, but it's a talented offensive bunch who will be more than happy to run with this Louisville team, who are coming off of, it might be the best game Pat Kelsey ever has as the Louisville head coach, and that's not a slight. They scored 118 on a good NC State team. Mikal Brown Jr. with 45. I bet him for 15. I feel like they shouldn't have even paid me out. He tripled the bet. At that point, did I even make a good bet only betting him for 15? I think Baylor is very, very live in this game, JY. And I took him plus the 6.5.
Yeah, listen, when you have a game where you score a ton of points and then you have to go on the road, it is not only a plus 7.5. This is full-on upset alert for a Baylor team that has been going through the absolute meat grinder. And that's where sometimes when you get these teams in these non-conference matchups where you could say, okay, there's a spot right there where a team who has played a tough schedule, a tough stretch, gets a home game versus a team that scored a ton of points. That is not only upset alert, that screams like a team could go under their points prop this afternoon.
We are going to go through the biggest games on this slate in our next segment. All of those top matchups that we started off with. But one more thing to keep your eye on today is North Carolina without Caleb Willison for the first time as he fractured his hand. He has said he is coming back. I'll tell you, it would be quite the hero's welcome if he makes it back for March 7th at Cameron Indoor. But how does North Carolina fare without their best player? We're going to learn a lot tonight as they go up against Pittsburgh later on today. We run through a whip around of the best games on this slate next on College Basketball Today.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I don't think he was trying to take a shot at the team at all. It was just a plain and simple and obvious fact.
I think what's difficult, though, is, and I agree with you, right? I guess I agree with LeBron. The assessment of it all, it's why the Lakers organization seems to be comfortable with that truth, unless they disagree. But again, I don't really know how you disagree.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike McDonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It looked like a clump of grass. It didn't look like an eagle. That's the one, by the way, USA Today claimed was the best ad. They thought the Lay's ad was number 2. The worst ad was any ad that had AI in it or had an AI company behind it. It wasn't because of the AI. It was because they were the most nonsensical ads I've seen. Does anybody look at these ads and understand if they are actually trying to do what they're trying to do, which is to showcase the product as opposed to being great with AI? Very embarrassing.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
College basketball today on SportsGrid, a whip around through the biggest games on this slate at noon, Coach. It is Duke, it is Clemson in an ACC showdown featuring the National Player of the Year favorite. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, when you look at the Duke game, I just think it's an underplay. We talk about the style of play of how Clemson wants to play and needs to play, but the fact that Duke does not run the ball up the floor unless it's in transition. So the key thing to look at it is turnovers. Folks, when you get these unders sometimes, I don't blame you if you watch, especially when you go to somewhere like Cameron Indoor, if you wait the first 5-6 minutes and see how a team comes out. Are they flustered? Are they sped up? Or does coach get them to run their offense? If they can run their offense and not turn the ball over, Duke is not a running the ball up the floor on a missed rebound. They're a run the ball up the floor on a live turnover. So if you keep the turnovers down, play the under. I love the under in the game today.
I really, really like Clemson here. Played them at plus 13.5. You're going to hear that a few times as our show continues to tick on. JY, at 1 o'clock, it is likely the biggest game on this slate. It's Iowa State. It's Kansas in Ames, a 6.5, 7.5 point number now for the Cyclones. How are you betting this one?
Yeah, I'm looking squarely at the big man, Flory Badunga, going over 12.5 points, over 5 straight games. I think you'll see this game where he could kind of dominate in the inside. His ability to attack the offensive glass and create second possessions in regards to putbacks and hitting his free throws is something of note. So to me, I'm looking at Flory Badunga going over his points prop. Like I said, he's going over 5 straight games.
I really like Joshua Jefferson over his 15.5 points prop. It is a double bounce back spot for a man who has not missed that marker in 3 straight. He's now missed it in 2 straight, which was the first time. Coming off of a 12 piece, I think he gets over it because in his most recent effort, he shot under 40% from the floor for what was just the 8th time this season. In the 7 follow-up games so far, today will be the 8th, 6 of 7, he has scored at least 16 points. So I feel really, really good about Joshua Jefferson. One pick that both Coach and I, though, think could be worth it. Neither of us might play it. It's just something to monitor. It really, really is the Darren Peterson under points prop at 20.5 in this game. I think, Coach, and you seem to agree, that there are too many questions. Health, efficiency, opponent, potential blowout. Listen, they said he missed Monday with a flu. Last I checked, you don't have the flu, and then you're just ripping and roaring, scoring 35 against one of the top 10 defenses in college basketball the next day.
And I absolutely agree with that. And I think there's another point that you didn't mention, and that's the fact of Melvin Council, of Trey White, and of Floyd Badunga being able to score a little bit more. So they're a little bit less reliant at times on Darren Peterson, particularly when the late game, obviously, versus, I know he had a big game versus Arizona. As you're Bill Self now, you could say, I can go get these other guys baskets and score. So to me, playing the under to Peterson makes sense, especially if you're looking like me, looking at a guy like Badunga to go over his points prop.
All right, let's keep moving it through a really, really fun slate where in the SEC, we get Florida and Kentucky, a number that may be coming back a little bit towards the catch, JY, 13.5s, becoming 12.5s in some spots here, but still a huge number for a team, though, who, as the defending national champions, feel maybe as scary as last year's group right now, but for different reasons.
Yeah, I just think about the way that they're playing, particularly in the inside with the big men of Alex Kahn and Thomas Howe and obviously Ruben Chinaloo. And for my play to look at, it would be, if you could find it, would be Ruben Chinaloo's over, his rebounding prop, his ability to be one of the best offensive rebounders in the country. I think he's ranked 4th in offensive rebounding percentage, is a way that he's going to attack this game. And that's how they've gotten better, as he's gotten better over the board. So if you can find it, Ruben Chinaloo over his rebounding prop times for where I'd be looking.
Yeah, I would say there's a few different ways I think you could attack this game. Thomas Houck is very interesting over a 17.5 number. Maybe if you're kind of doing some chalk player prop parlays, you grab him for 15. He's in a nice little bounce back spot here. If I were to bet the side, I probably could only take the 13.5, though that would be a bit scary. I have a little bit of interest, believe it or not. And again, I am likely going to stay away from this game. In the over, just, hey, does Florida and this defensive onslaught give a little in this game? But also, could this team with their size overpower UK and score 90 and really carry a total like this? Again, it's not my favorite game to get involved with. The next one, it's one of my favorites. And I know for the same as Coach, a top 20 matchup in the Big 12 between Arizona and Texas Tech. Arizona off their first loss of the season. JY, do you think it could be a second in a row?
I think, listen, I don't know if it could be a second in a row, but Texas Tech plus the points, because so many points are getting, Kevin, and the under 157.5 is where I'm looking at. Because to me, Grant McCaslin knows that this game could be dragged into the mud. I think Kansas proved it in spots. And I think that we talked about this before, folks, styles make fights. Arizona is one of those teams that could play either way, fast or grind it out. So if Texas Tech wants to grind it out and Arizona is comfortable letting it be grinded out, then that under 157.5 is what I'd look at. Also, plus the points with Texas Tech, provided that they can keep JT Toppin out of foul trouble in the game.
Look, I think it's kind of a good spot for Texas Tech. I think they're going to be really excited for the moment here. I think that there is a little bit of overvaluing Arizona in the market, and with a big number like this, I do not have any issues with those who back Tech. However, that is exactly what I felt with Kansas, and it held true. But I felt safer playing an Arizona team total. And that Arizona team total came in. And I look at this game today, and I feel safer playing an Arizona team total again. Where, especially because the Wildcats, both games at BYU and at Kansas, they were, if you look, okay, in those games, up by double digits in each of them, especially the BYU game, they likely will have a double-digit lead here. 83.5 is the number for Arizona. I feel a little bit more comfortable with that spot. Don't forget to keep your eyes on that Purdue-Iowa game as well. I really do like Iowa in that spot. We'll go through some of the others, but we lock in our favorite bet on today's slate. JY has been making you wait all show. We find out next right here on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I don't think he was trying to take a shot at the team at all. It was just a plain and simple and obvious fact.
I think what's difficult, though, is, and I agree with you, right? I guess I agree with LeBron. The assessment of it all, it's why the Lakers organization seems to be comfortable with that truth, unless they disagree. But again, I don't really know how you disagree.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You guys had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. You knew you were facing a Mike McDonald defense that disguises everything, and that was your game plan, to play scared. I mean, Mike Vrabel, I love the guy. He played that game, Donnie, like it was a preseason scrimmage in August and not the Super Bowl.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
It looked like a clump of grass. It didn't look like an eagle. That's the one, by the way, that USA Today claimed was the best ad. They thought the Lay's ad was number 2. The worst ad was any ad that had AI in it or had an AI company behind it. It wasn't because of the AI. It was because they were the most nonsensical ads you've ever seen. Does anybody look at these ads and understand if they are actually trying to do what they're trying to do, which is to showcase the product as opposed to being great with AI? Very embarrassing.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, guys, college basketball today on SportsGrid. We'll run through what like the full card looks like, but let's put these best bets on the board, give you a chance to lock these in, really make it happen here. JY, not a direct head. JY and I also have this knack for this little dance we'll do occasionally where one of us will play a team total, the other will be on the side, and we can like each get there, but we're really threading a needle. We're doing it again in the Houston K-State game. I took a Kansas State team total over 61.5. I also would just listen to what coach is about to say. JY, what do you got for a best bet?
I'm going to take Houston first half minus 12.5. When you look at Houston being the number 2 team in defensive efficiency versus the number 15 in league, and then the number 1 offense versus the number 15 defense, and the fact that Jerome Tang called his team out and you're going to Houston, Kelvin Sampson's team will be in a bad mood. They will put this game away early, cover the 12.5, and then go root on Kevin's over 61.5 points. I think there's a chance they both get there.
Let me just say this. JY is a real friend. You know what? And you knew his name was probably going to come up. This guy, Lisi, if he had a best bet like this, he would root against me still in the second half. Like he'd win money in the first half and then just keep rooting against me. All right. So I really appreciate Coach James Young. Look, I've said it a few times. I'll say it again. I love Clemson plus the 13.5. Duke has not played teams really like this. Of the top 20 defenses in the country, only Houston is slower. It is so hard to blow out a team like Clemson. I know that their most recent result was arguably their worst of the season in the 10-point home loss to Va Tech. It's a look-ahead spot to this game here today. That's what happens. You look at the game against Bama by 6. You look at the game against BYU by just 3. Close games. And I look at Duke against the best defenses they've played. Florida by 1 in their own building. Michigan State by 6 on the road. Those are all results you're happy about, but it's not by 14, 15. When are you going to feel comfortable? Up 20? I'm on Clemson, coach, here today, plus the 13.5.
Yeah, I love it. And my way of taking it the same way is I will just take the under in the game because of the fact that Clemson, provided that they could, protect the ball, which they are 11th in turnover percentage in the ACC. If they don't turn the ball over, Duke is not going to want to run because they only run on live ball turnovers, folks. They don't run off of rebounds. So to me, because both teams play slow, Clemson plays it close to the vest, maybe gets that cover, that under 132.5 I love today, and Clemson versus Duke.
Yeah, I know that that's one of your favorite plays on this board. Some of the other action that I'm locked in, we've talked. Remind people, Coach, actually, let's do this. Let's remind people of our three-man weave. Producers are on Xavier Lee over the 10.5 points. I'm on Joshua Jefferson over the 15.5 points. You got a Big East guy here that's going to step up today.
Yeah, I'm going to go Terrace Reed over 7.5 rebounds. Terrace Reed, obviously, UConn number 2 in offensive and defensive rebounding percentage. And the Big East over 5 in its last 8 games. 11 rebounds versus Georgetown last time out. When he rebounds, they look good. He'll get over to 7.5 tonight.
All right, no doubt about that. I mentioned I like Iowa on the money line. I don't know if it's a direct head-to-head. Maybe Coach leans Purdue, but I'm playing Iowa in this spot here at home. Similar to Clemson, right? Looked ahead, got clipped by Maryland. I think they step up here today and get their first true marquee win of the season. I like Baylor plus the 6.5. That team's playing better under Scott Drew. A lot of talent offensively. They'll be more than ready for an up-tempo game against Kelsey's crew in Louisville. It's basically a home game. The game's in Texas. I really like Baylor plus the points. Coach, anything else that we haven't hit that you like here today?
Yeah, I'm going to just rapid fire. St. John's minus a 7.5. Zuby Etchfor over 14.5 points. Cam Boozer over 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I obviously told you about Floyd Badinga, and we haven't got to this one. BYU team total over 89.5 versus Colorado. This is a get-right spot for this team. Get up and down. This is the first time the schedule's lightened up. Watch this team explode and get 90-plus tonight.
Also, a play that Coach couldn't endorse less. But we cover the women's game here on college basketball today. And I am taking, he's still laughing at me, dang it. Marquette plus the 35.5. Listen, we've been capping this number all morning long. This was 32.5. I got 3 points of value here, Coach. Come on now.
You're my boy, and I will root it on. I am not betting against it, but I don't think he's right. That's all I'll say about that.
Oh, stop. Also, though, JY, sharp as can be, I put him on the spot. I'm like, hey, LSU, South Carolina, here are the numbers. 156.5. He goes, yeah, that's an under. Already down to 154.5. And that is what you can expect each and every Saturday with myself, Kevin Walsh, and Coach James Young right here on College Basketball Today. We are so happy to be back with you. A happy Valentine's Day once again. Enjoy the games, everybody, on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
The Buffalo Bills have to find a new head coach. Take a look at the leaders right now. A 33% chance Brian Dable takes that job. You say, well, why? Wait a second here. He's head coach of the New York Giants. Did you know he came from the Buffalo Bills and basically resurrected Josh Allen on that MVP trajectory while he was with the Buffalo Bills? Clint Kubiak, Joe Brady, Davis Webb, all offensive guys, which I agree with.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The outline for Koepka are fantastic. I think it's perfect. It is punitive, but it's fair. You've got to levy some sort of fine, so to speak, for defecting, and I think they've done a wonderful job of being equitable and punishing him a bit at the same time. I think Brooks ultimately wants to be playing with the best.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Just the fear that we had going on. And the players obviously were paid $10,000 to $30,000 per fix. But what this does is it hits at the core of the identity in the sport, especially in the modern day betting era.
College Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.